You've been
Scott,
called a liar.
can,
You've been called
Scott,
a liar and desperate, and we can't trust you so far tonight.
That's right.
So
Scott,
respond
if
to that.
I can respond. Look, it's pretty ironic for Scott Angel, of all people, to be making these charges. He was part of Bobby Jindal's inner circle. He was the quarterback going to the legislature to pass legislation in 2014 to implement Common Core. This has been reported in the press. Look it up in the Advocate, 10/29/14. Look it up in the Times-Picayune, July 15th, 2014. There are emails with him and John White. How are we going to get this done? Let's pass this legislation. He was in the middle of that inner circle to pass legislation to implement and further Common Core. That's number one.
Thank you, Senator.
Number
You're out of
two,
time.
I'm the only person on this dais who's actually passed legislation, in this case at the federal
we'll move on
level, to get the federal government out of this business.
Thank you.
To stop them from jamming
Thank you,
this down
Senator.
our throat.
We'll go to Commissioner Rangel.
Again, let me take this opportunity to call out Senator Pinocchio. The reality of it all is that he's wrong on education. He was for something, he was against it, he's for it. He has no idea where he will be on Common Core. Certainly the legislature was right to pass a resolution to go back to the drawing board. That was the right thing to do. Senator Vitta also talks about the internet tax. The reality of it all is that on May the 17th, 1994, House Bill number 21, he voted for a 8% consumer use tax. He is the person up here that has voted to increase your taxes in Louisiana more than any single person. The record is clear. He's hiding from his record. I'm surprised he showed up at this forum. He's missed 200 votes in the United States Senate. He's got the 6th worst attendance record in the United States Senate. He's not here. He's not there. He just simply doesn't care.
All right, Senator Vitter, last word on this. 30
Scott,
seconds, and then we're moving on.
Mr. Angel's talking about a vote in 1994. I don't know what folks in the audience were buying on the internet then. It wasn't much, if anything. A bill that did not have the word internet in it, had nothing to do with the internet. In contrast to that, we had a vote directly on this issue in the United States Senate last year. I voted against that tax. Mr. Angel is clearly on record supporting that increased taxation.
Okay, thank you, Senator. We have to move on. We have to move on, Commissioner
Clearly,
Angel.
Senator Vitta is misrepresenting.
We
The
have to
law
move to
that he
Reverend
voted
Odom.
on is on the Department of Revenue
We have to
website.
get to more topics. I'm sorry. We have to finish this one with Reverend Odom. Go ahead. Your thoughts. Do you know where we are at this point?
I really don't.
And we were on Common Core. And do you support it? Should Louisiana withdraw from the standard?
Very short answer. I support Common Core.
Okay. Thank you. Now we're going to go to some rapid-fire questions. These will be very short answers, yes or no, preferably no more than 5 or 10 seconds on this. We'll go down the line, starting with Reverend Odom. Who do you support in the presidential race?
I have not made up my mind on that yet.
Commissioner Angel.
Undecided.
I'm undecided. I'm worried about this race in 2015. We'll turn the calendar when we get to it.
Senator Vitter.
Scott, I'm going to be a Louisiana governor who isn't focused on Iowa or New Hampshire or on the presidential race. I do think it's noteworthy that outsiders are the leading candidates, and I applaud that. I think that's very healthy, and that's exactly the sort of fighting spirit I've always brought to my work in public service.
Lieutenant Governor Gardens.
I hope Senator Vitter will be a U.S. Senator, not focused on those states, and I'm undecided in who I'll support.
And Mr. Deaton.
This week, I support Carly Fiorina.
All right. What about college funding? We've seen health care and college funding cut to the bone. What can you do quickly to fix the situation? Mr. Odom.
Put the money back.
Okay. Commissioner Angel.
In a $26 billion state budget, of which has a $9.5 billion general fund, we can make higher education a priority. Louisiana has cut higher education way too much. 60% of the jobs that we create in Louisiana will require more than a high school diploma and less than a 4-year degree. While not everybody needs to go to college, everybody should have an opportunity to go to college, but everybody needs a job. I'll focus on community and technical colleges. We'll ramp them up. I'll celebrate and elevate
Okay, let's move on. 15 seconds. Mr. Edwards, please.
We got to fund higher education first and not as an afterthought with leftover dollars. The state of Louisiana, under Bobby Jindal's failed leadership, has cut higher education more than any other state in the nation and raised tuition more than any other state in the nation. A perfect disaster for our kids. We can do better. We will when I'm the next governor.
Senator Vitter.
Scott, the single biggest reason higher ed has faced all of those disproportionate cuts is that almost every other part of the budget is protected with different sorts of dedications and protections. I've outlined that as a key focus of my first special session to change that so we have more flexibility and we're not constantly attacking higher ed. That has
Thank
to
you, Senator
stop.
Vitter.
I'll stop death by 1,000
We have 30
cuts.
seconds to get to our closing statement, so 15 between the two of you. Go, Lieutenant Governor Dart.
I have said from day one, higher education is going to be my top priority. You fund what's most important first. That's what it means to fund by priority. That's what I will do, and then we'll get to the things that are second and third and all the way down. Higher education has been neglected for too long in Louisiana.
Mr. Deaton.
I want to cut the tuition at the state universities by 10%. The young people in this state have been penalized too much. That was done in Mankato State, in Minnesota, and Suwanee, Tennessee, and more people returned to school, and the university and the state system made money because more people returned. They made it on volume.
Thank you, Mr. Deaton. Now we're going to move on to the closing statements from our candidates. This reminder, each candidate will have up to 1 minute for their statement. We'll go left to right this time, so we begin with Reverend Odom.
I just want to say thank you for inviting me, and if anyone's interested in knowing more about my campaign, they can find that on Facebook and our website as well.
Commissioner Argel.
Well, thank you, Scott. I want to thank WDSU for putting us together to talk about the serious issues facing Louisiana. I want to thank the many Louisianians that have joined us today at home after perhaps a hard day's work, maybe a challenging day at school, or maybe even taking care of a family member. Despite the many challenges facing Louisiana, I absolutely believe our greatest days are still ahead. And I believe we meet those challenges head on by electing a governor who has a proven track record of working across lines, across party lines, and geographic lines, and racial lines, and gender lines. I am that person. We don't need a governor that claims to know everything. We need a governor who is willing to work with everyone. And we need a governor that when he works on policy all night, he understands it affects people all day. I'm the son of a conservative dad who taught me the value of homework and teamwork and to never feel entitled. I'm the son of a God-fearing mother who gave birth to 9 children and taught me that life begins at conception and it's worth protecting. While discrimination is never acceptable, our religious freedom should never, ever be negotiable. I'm asking you to consider a different brand of politics. Consider Scott Angel, October the 24th. The last name is Angel. It has 2 L's, and it stands for Loves Louisiana.
Thank you, Commissioner. Representative Edwards.
Thank you, Scott, and WDSU and all the viewers. You know, I'm bullish about our future. There are great opportunities ahead in Louisiana, but it starts with an honest conversation of where we are after 8 years of failed leadership from Bobby Jindal. Today, Louisiana is in the ditch, and there are 3 choices if you want a 3rd Jindal term. You can vote for David Vitter. He'll be Jindal on steroids. You can vote for Jay Darden, whose premise for running lieutenant governor was to help Bobby Jindal impose his agenda. Or you can vote for Scott Angel, who was a part of the Jindal administration coming up with these disastrous policies, and then he was Jindal's lobbyist at the legislature trying to pass them. Fact of the matter is, these 3 gentlemen, on 2 occasions, gave Bobby Jindal a passing grade in terms of how he did as governor. Well, either they don't know failed leadership when they see it, or they can't be honest with the people of Louisiana. I stood up to Bobby Jindal and his disastrous policies when it was hard, when it might have made a difference. And on the 2 occasions I had an opportunity to grade him, I gave him an F that he deserved for his failed leadership. We can do better. We will do better with proven leadership. I'm asking for your support. I'm asking for your vote.
Thank you, Representative
God
Edwards.
bless Louisiana.
Senator Vitter.
Thanks to all those who've hosted this debate, and even more importantly, thanks to all of you watching for the enormous honor in terms of giving me your confidence as I serve you. I've always done that in 3 steps. First of all, I've really listened by being based in the state with my family, 395 town hall meetings, constantly visiting with you around the state. Then I've taken what you've told me and I've stood up and I've fought for those conservative Louisiana values, never joining the congressional retirement system, fighting for term limits, fighting to make sure Congress and President Obama lives under the same Obamacare rules that you need to live under. And then I've produced results. We passed term limits. We passed the Steve Gleason Act, infrastructure funding, vital for Louisiana, other important measures to move us forward, Katrina and Rita recovery and the like. I will do that same thing as governor. I'll always listen to you. I'll always stand up and fight for you, and I will change the culture in Baton Rouge.
Thank you, Senator Vitter. Lieutenant Governor Darden.
Scott, thanks to you and thanks to WDSU and the viewing audience. John Bell, you're right on 2 out of 3. I give you credit for that. Bobby Jindal didn't support me for lieutenant governor. He supported my opponent, and I'm the lieutenant governor of this state, and I've talked to Bobby in person 5 times over 5 years. So don't throw me in the same briar patch as those 2 guys. If you're like me, you are frustrated. You are frustrated with the logjam in Washington, what comes and doesn't happen in Washington, D.C. You're frustrated that Bobby Jindal has put Louisiana in the rear view mirror. It's time for us to put Bobby Jindal in the rear view mirror as well and talk about the future, not the past. I'm concerned about where Louisiana will be in 25 or 50 years. We have squandered opportunity after opportunity after opportunity during my adult lifetime, but God continues to bless Louisiana with yet more opportunities. Unprecedented economic growth on the horizon. We need a leader who is going to bring us together and not pull us apart. I've been in the business of bringing Louisiana together and promoting the state that I love. Give me the chance to continue doing it and to tackle the challenges that we have in Louisiana. They can be overcome if we have the right leadership in place, and I hope you'll make that your governor.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Mr. Deaton.
Thank you, Scott. I really appreciate your inviting me here tonight. Again, my name is Kerry Deaton. I attended Archbishop Rummel High School. I attended LSU. I attended the University of New Orleans. I was admitted to Tulane Law School. From there, I went to work for the United States Patent Office in Washington. I worked there 9 years as a Louisianian. During that time period, I had a very good exposure that I want to bring back here. And one thing that has not been mentioned by a single candidate here is how the poor and the disadvantaged in this state are treated. Nearly 900,000 people in this state make below $24,000 a year. That's a third only to Mississippi and New Mexico. I will be the candidate who will be primarily concerned about the well-being of the poor and the disadvantaged in this state. They did not even mention that.
We are out of time. I wish we could go on longer. This has been fun. Thank you all for coming here tonight.
Thank you,
do have a voice in the political process. You can vote, of course, so make sure you cast your vote. I'm Scott Walker. Thank you for joining us tonight, and good night.
Tonight's Commitment 2015 gubernatorial debate has been brought to you in part by the Urban League of Greater New Orleans, the New Orleans chapter of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, the National Council of Jewish Women New Orleans Section, and the League of Women Voters of New Orleans. And special thanks to our broadcast partners, KALB News Channel 5, ABC for the ArkLaMis, KAQI, KTBS, on your side for 60 years, KLFY, the best coverage for Acadiana, Louisiana Public Broadcasting, and a special thanks to the City of New Orleans.